Hey guys, my name is Alexis and welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be talking all about this space. I'm going to be sharing how we designed the layout of this kitchen, all of the different elements we chose, storage hacks, and tons of other tips. So if you are building a new house and trying to design a kitchen, or if you're renovating an existing kitchen, then I think you will find this video helpful. So let's get right into it. My husband and I designed this house from scratch. So we started our plans honestly on graph paper. We had this big pad of graph paper and we drew out all of our ideas and then took it to a floor plan designer to have them drafted professionally. So we really customized every single room in our home, including our kitchen. So this space is about 13 and a half feet wide and 12 feet deep, roughly. So that's the space that we were working with. Typically, you'll see in a kitchen that you would have your kitchen sink in front of a window. But my kitchen is in the center of my home, so we weren't able to do that. Instead, we put our sink on the peninsula in our kitchen. So this arm of our countertop extends out and we have a bar on the other side with 3 bar stools. So I put the sink in the peninsula because this room is an open living kitchen area. So I wanted to be able to watch the TV and watch all the action happening in the rest of the room while I was cooking or doing the dishes. So that's why we ended up putting the sink on this side. And there's something called the kitchen work triangle principle, where your sink, your stove, and your fridge are supposed to be in a triangle, and you can look it up. It gives different dimensions, how long or short those arms are supposed to be. But essentially I wanted the oven close to the sink so that it would be easier when I was cooking, because you're always cleaning your pots and adding water and stuff. So I ended up putting the stove here and the fridge over here. So it does abide by that kitchen principle rule. And so far it's been very functional. We also have an island, and this island is about 2.5 feet wide and 4 feet long, give or take a few inches. And it was really important to me to have an island in our kitchen because it's such an awesome prep area. That's where I prep a lot of our food, and when we're packing our snacks and meals for the week, it's so easy to put everything out on here and get it together. I also really like buffet meals. So when we have family over or friends over for dinners, I prefer a buffet style, and it's really nice to have an island because you can set out all of your plates and all of your dishes, and people can just walk around and grab what they want. So I was very happy with an island. There are so many different cabinet and countertop options out there. It can become very overwhelming when you're browsing online. So of course I had a Pinterest board where I would pin lots of different things that I liked. And the 2 styles that I kept coming back to for cabinets were painted white cabinets or natural finish light wood cabinets. So my husband, he is a lover of all things wooden. So he really wanted to go with wood cabinets. You can also get MDF cabinets, which are not wood, but there are some perks to MDF instead of natural wood. So some perks of wooden cabinets are that they're of course pretty strong and durable. You can also refinish them in the future. So if we decide in 5 years that we want to paint these cabinets, we could sand them down and paint them, or we could sand them down and stain them a different color. There are lots of options for refinishing cabinets. A con to a wooden cabinet as opposed to MDF is that wooden cabinets will expand and contract. So if you have a painted wooden cabinet, then they will crack and you'll see the seams where they crack in the paint. Lots of people have painted wooden cabinets and don't have a problem with that. I just didn't really, that was kind of the deciding factor for me. When I heard that, I thought, okay, well, we'll just go with a natural finish then. There's nothing wrong with it. Tons of people have that, but as a personal preference, I didn't like the look of the cabinets when they cracked over time. So we ended up going with wooden cabinets. This is hickory, and we chose this wood. We actually saw it in a relative's house for the first time. We saw someone with this grain of wood, and we thought that the grain was really unique. It was such a mix of really light wood and dark, and it had more of like a whitewash as opposed to like a yellow type of stain that, like oak can become a little bit more yellow over time. So we like that this was a little bit of a cooler white. So it's hickory with just a clear varnish coating over top. For the countertops, I was really struck on marble patterns. So on Pinterest, I pinned so many different marble countertops. Every time I saw them, that's just what I was drawn to. So when we went countertop shopping, we first went to our local home building centers, and we got quotes and spoke with the designers there. And one problem is, if you go to like a home building center, usually the sample of countertop that you see is about this big. It's just like a little square. So if you're picking a solid pattern, like if you're picking a black or a gray, and it doesn't have very much variation throughout the slab, then that's no problem because you can see what you want to see in that small sample. But my countertops change. So there's a lot of different elements in each piece. So depending on what you saw in that small slab, it really wouldn't paint a very good picture in your mind of what it was going to look like. So we went to a countertop and tile specialty business. That's all they sold. And so we went to that store, and it was great because they actually have slabs of countertop in their warehouse, in their store. So rather than just taking a look at a small sample, you can actually go out back and you can see every single slab, and you can see what it would look like. So like the island, for example, where it's a pretty large piece of countertop, we could actually envision what the whole countertop would look like because we saw the whole slab. So that was really great. So there are lots of different countertop options as well. You can go with laminate, which is what you see in many homes. You can also go with a stone, and we looked at both granite and quartz options. And there are pros and cons to both. So granite is a slab of rock. So it's 100% natural. It's actually mined. Someone went out, cut a slab of a stone off, and brought it in and put it in your house. So it's a natural slab of rock that gets polished. And what's really nice about granite is that every piece is unique because it's an actual piece of a rock that's brought into your home. So that's a really cool feature, that every piece of granite countertop is completely unique. Granite is great because it's heat resistant, so you can set your hot pots right on it. I have a friend that was really interested, an avid cook, and she loved that feature, that she could set her hot pots right on her countertop when she was cooking. Granite, though, is a little bit high maintenance. A little bit. It's not very high maintenance, but you do have to reseal it from time to time. So it's polished and sealed with kind of like a clear coating, so that does have to be redone every year or so, maybe a little bit longer. So we also looked at quartz, and this countertop is quartz. And the pros of quartz are that it's very hard and it's quite difficult to stain. So this is a white countertop, but it is so far, there's been very little staining that's happened. Granite is a little bit more porous, so you do have to be a little bit more careful with granite than you do with quartz. I just take a magic eraser to this countertop and it gets rid of basically everything. There are a few spots where there's a very, very faint color left, but almost always the stain comes completely out with a magic eraser. So quartz is great because it is very hard. It's less porous, and there's no maintenance, so you never have to reseal it. It's perfect basically forever. It's not heat resistant, So you can't just set your hot pots directly on the countertop. And quartz is different than granite because it's not 100% natural. So granite, like I said, is a slab of rock that's cut off, polished, and put in your kitchen. Quartz is actually quartz mineral that is mixed with resin. So it's man-made. It is a natural mineral. Quartz is a natural mineral, but it is manufactured and mixed with resin to make a hard surface. So there are more pattern options with quartz because it's manufactured. So this marble pattern that I really wanted, that's not something that you can find in granite. So we went with this pattern, and I did ask if I could actually get marble instead of quartz or granite because I really like the marble look. And marble is actually very porous, which means that it stains very easily. So it's not a great option for kitchens and bathrooms where you have a lot of liquids and a lot of spills. So we went with this quartz countertop, and you can get lots of different edges on your countertop. So I wanted a square look, but I didn't want sharp square edges. So this is called a pencil edge. So it's square, but it is rounded. So if you hit your head off of it, if kids were in here and hit their head on it, it wouldn't hurt you, but it still gives the squared look. And it's really great for cleaning because you can just like wipe stuff right off. And yeah, so far I'm loving the countertop. Very easy to clean, no maintenance. I haven't had any issues with scratching at all, and yeah, we're very happy with that. And we chose, it's a brushed nickel hardware that we chose here, and we use the same hardware throughout other areas of our home. So these are our cabinets and our countertop. And we also have a bar on this peninsula on the other side. So our countertops are 3 feet from the floor to the top of the countertop. You can choose different heights when you're ordering your cabinets. If you're particularly tall, then you may actually want to get taller cabinets so that when you're washing your dishes or cooking, then you're not hunched over so far. But I think that 3 feet is probably the standard height, but you can choose taller options. So most of our countertops are 3 feet tall, and the bar on our peninsula is 6 inches above that. So they are, I believe, 42 inches from the floor to the top of the countertop. And so far it's been a really great height for the bar. I want to chat quickly about our kitchen sink because this is something that I hadn't ever thought of before designing our own kitchen, and that is the depth of your kitchen sink. So we went with a deeper kitchen sink. Our sink is about 9 inches deep, and our countertop is about 1 inch thick. So it ends up being about 10 inches from the top of the counter to the base of the sink. And one thing that's nice about having a deeper sink is that you can fit more dishes in it. And it also looks less messy. So if you're putting dirty dishes in your sink, when I set glasses in here or cups or pots, you actually can't see them very well because they're inside the sink. So I find it's a neater look than when you have a more shallow sink. It's also great for doing the dishes because it reduces the amount of splashing and mess because everything stays in the sink. And we do have the dual-sided sink, and in this side we just have a drying rack that always stays in one side of the sink. And for our faucet, something that's so important is to get a faucet that has a pull-out sprayer nozzle on it. There are so many beautiful kitchen faucets that will tempt you, but without that sprayer faucet, things get so much messier. It just makes it so much easier to rinse off your dishes after you wash them, and also say you have to fill pot when you're cooking. It's just so nice to be able to like pull it out and fill it up rather than have to try to maneuver underneath if this was fixed. So those are 2 important elements. I just like this clean, simple look of this faucet, but there are tons and tons of options. Like I said, there are also faucets that are great that are touch enabled. So rather than having to press a button, if you touch it, the water will come on and off. So there's tons of really cool features that you can choose. And underneath our sink is a feature that I think is really great. This is something I found on Pinterest that I really wanted to incorporate, and I hope that I'll be able to show you. So underneath our sink is where we store all of our cleaning products. Our compost bin is also under there, and kind of miscellaneous kitchen cleaning related things. So usually you just, in my last kitchen, I just stuffed everything under the sink and I would have to pull everything out. I hardly ever knew what was in there. It was always a disaster. But here we have a pull-out. So it's really great because you just pull it out, you can see everything, keep it really organized, and then when you're done, you can just push it back in and close the doors. Something I was very determined to figure out when we were planning this kitchen was a way to organize our garbage and recyclables. So in our old kitchen, it was a really small space, and we didn't have space in the kitchen to store our paper and plastic recyclables and bottles. So what we would do is, say someone had a can of pop, I would rinse it out, I would leave it on the side of the sink for a few days until I went out into the garage and took all the recyclables out. And I just hated that clutter and that mess. So we came up with ways to organize that, and our cabinet maker had a really cool suggestion for the recyclables. So for the garbage, we have a pull-out drawer beside our kitchen sink, which is super convenient because you're often doing a lot of cooking and prepping, and having a garbage right beside that is really useful. So this pull-out has the garbage in front, and behind that is where I keep different garbage bags. So I have the bags for this garbage, I also keep the bags for our bathroom garbages, and then larger recycling bags. So it's really useful to have that storage space behind the garbage. In many kitchens, they have like 3 small bins here, or 2 or 3 small bins for garbage and then paper and plastics. And I have always found those to be too small. They fill up really quickly and you're constantly emptying them. So I really like this option where we had more of a full-size garbage that lasts a few days rather than having to empty constantly. So for our recyclables and our paper, plastic, and our bottles, our cabinet maker suggested a Lazy Susan option. So a lot of people put Lazy Susans in these corner cabinets for canned goods and other items, but they're pretty dark, they get pretty cluttered, and I wasn't very interested in doing that. So instead, we have this really cool feature. So it's still a Lazy Susan, but there are 3 bins in here for our paper, our plastic, and then our bottles and cans. And this is so awesome. If you have the space for storage for your recyclables, I would highly recommend this. It keeps everything in our kitchen organized, and then once a week or so, we empty those out, and it keeps the countertops clutter-free, which is great. Another great Pinterest storage hack that I found was a way to organize your baking pans beside your oven, which is in this cabinet with these dividers built in. So it has been so helpful. In our old kitchen, all of our baking pans were just stacked on top of each other, shoved in a shelf, and you had to bang and clang through a bunch of different pans to find the one you wanted. So now it's so much easier to keep them organized and upright. So I have our cutting boards and oven mitts in this section. In the middle is where I keep my most common baking pans, the ones I go to all the time. And then on this side are more kind of one-off pans that I use from time to time. And then I also keep cooking oil in this cabinet because usually when I'm reaching for a baking pan, I'm probably going to reach for oil as well. So this was a really handy hack that I have been loving. When you are designing your kitchen cabinets, you can choose either doors that open or pull out drawers. So the baking pan cabinet I just showed you was an example of a door that opens, and you can either have shelves in there or dividers, whatever you'd like. There are also options for pull-out drawers. And on this end of the island, we put 2 deep drawers to fit our pots. And I did that purposefully because I wanted to be able to easily grab the pot and put it on the oven, and it's working really well. So if you do have an island in front of your oven or close to your oven, then I highly recommend putting some drawers in the island or in a cabinet near your oven to store your pots. And in the top drawer of this island, we keep things like aluminum foil and parchment paper, and these are the pads that you'd set a hot pot on. So a little kind of a miscellaneous drawer of cooking related things that are helpful for the oven as well. So in this area of our kitchen, we have a mixture of pull-out drawers and doors, and we have upper cabinets here as well that have glass doors. So we did that just for looks. We only used 3 glass doors in our kitchen, and the rest are solid doors. I did not want everything to be glass because then you can see the mess and the clutter behind the door. So most of our doors are solid, but I added 2 glass ones here for accents. And you'll see inside the cabinet we have lights at the top of the cabinet, and we just recently finally got the glass shelves for these cabinets. They came with wooden shelves, and then we separately ordered glass shelves so that the light would shine all the way through the cabinet, just as an accent in the kitchen, just for looks. Storage space was really important to me in designing this kitchen because in our previous home we had hardly any storage space, and things always felt really cluttered and disorganized. So a pantry cabinet was very important to me as a place that we could keep all of our canned goods and cereals and snacks and all of that. So we keep a lot of our food in here. So it has 2 parts. So the upper part of this cabinet has shelving, and that's where we keep like cereal and granola and different items. And then the bottom part of this pantry cabinet also has doors, and these drawers are pull-out drawers, which is super helpful because they're really deep. And so if they were just shelves, it would be really hard to see everything that's in the cabinet. It would probably get super cluttered and dark in there, and you'd have a lot of, it'd be a lot harder to keep it organized. So I absolutely love the pull-out drawers. You can see everything in here. You can keep it really nicely organized, and you can organize these whatever way you want. And the bottom one is slightly taller. There's a little bit more room, so you can put larger items, maybe larger, heavier items on the bottom pull-out drawer than the top one. So this is a great option. I highly recommend the pull-out drawers. The top part of the cabinet is just shelving, not pull-out drawers, and I think that's because if this was a pull-out, it would be large and heavy, and I wouldn't be able to see anything anyway. So probably it's more of a hazard to have a pull-out drawer up here. But I highly recommend a pantry cabinet if you have the space for it. For our appliances, we have a standard oven and stovetop with a microwave range hood over top. We have a dishwasher here, and then a double door fridge with a bottom load freezer. Appliances are totally personal preference. Our last fridge was the standard kind with the above freezer compartment, and I much prefer the bottom drawer freezer now that I've used both. You can fit a lot more stuff in there. The pull-out drawer makes it much easier to see everything inside the freezer as opposed to my old freezer, which when you open the door it was just 2 shelves, so you'd have a bunch of stuff jammed in there. So I find the bottom freezer much easier to organize. We have the double door fridge, and we have a water dispenser and ice dispenser in our fridge. And that was intentional as well because we didn't want to have a water cooler somewhere in our kitchen taking up more space. And the ice is just an awesome feature so that we don't have to make ice cubes in our freezer. So I really like having the ice and water in the fridge. So that's a great option if you're able to get water hookup. That's a great feature. I should also add that these appliances are all Samsung. I don't know very much about electronics, but we've had good luck in the past with Samsung, with our TVs and other devices. So we felt comfortable with that brand, and they had good reviews and a good warranty. And the color of our appliances was new this year. It's called Black Stainless. I want to chat quickly about another very important element of your kitchen, which is lighting. So in our kitchen, we have multiple lighting sources. So we have pot lights in our kitchen ceiling. We have pendant lighting over our island and over our peninsula. We also have under cabinet lighting, which is under here. And then we have the in cabinet lighting in the few cabinets that have glass doors. And all of our lights are on separate switches. So we have a lot of switches in our kitchen. But it was very important to have task-oriented lighting. So I don't have all of these lights on all the time. Sometimes I just have my kitchen pot lights in my ceiling on. Other times, sometimes in the evening, we only put the pendants over this island on. But it's really helpful to have task-oriented lighting because wherever you are in the kitchen, you want to be able to have lighting when you need it. So if I'm preparing something on the island, the pot lights in my ceiling aren't always bright enough. Sometimes I need extra lighting, especially if it's in the evening. And where my kitchen is in the center of my home, I don't have windows directly along my kitchen. So the lighting over the peninsula is great when I'm prepping or washing the dishes. And then the under cabinet lighting is also great because sometimes I'm preparing things on the countertop right beside my oven. And all of those different lighting sources have an individual purpose. So I highly recommend the more lighting sources you can install with separate switches, the better. That way you leave yourself open to lots of different lighting and lighting options in your kitchen and lots of different task-oriented lighting. Choosing tiles for the floor and the backsplash was another important decision in the kitchen. There are endless options for tile, and I really just went with what I loved. There are so many different options. You can get any color you want, any kind of pattern. And my husband and I were just really drawn to this floor tile. You don't have to put tile in your kitchen. People do have laminate, hardwood, some people have linoleum. There are lots of options. I really like tile because it's essentially waterproof. It's basically waterproof. So if you spill things in the kitchen, then it's easier to clean up. Although the grout is a little bit higher maintenance. We have white grout here. So if you do spill something, it will take a little bit more time, sometimes depending on what color the liquid is that you spill, to clean that up. But overall, I really like the waterproofness of a tile floor. So we did go with tile. And for the backsplash, again, I saw this tile and I just loved it. I was just drawn to it, and for the months after, when I was trying to decide, I just kept coming back to the same tile. So the backsplash tile is glass subway tile, which my tile guy told me is one of the most difficult tiles to cut. And this peninsula, because it's so short here, he said it's not a great application for these tiles. So he actually did not warranty this portion of the tile work. He told me that he would install it if I wanted him to, but he wouldn't warranty it because it's not a great place to install it. I think it must be because these tiles are cut. I'm not sure. They're difficult to cut and it's a short space, so I guess it's a little bit more challenging. But overall, it worked out perfectly and we have had no issues at all. So for your tile and your floor and your backsplash, again, we went to a tile specialty retailer to look at samples because our flooring in particular, it's called unique stone. And so in a box of tiles, each tile in the box looks different, which was what we really liked. And when we went to the specialty retailer store, they had displays of about 6 or 8 tiles that they had made. So you could see all of the different patterns. Whereas when I went to the local store, they only had 1 tile on display. So it only showed one of the patterns, which actually happened to be the most boring pattern in the box. So I didn't like it when I initially saw it in the local store until I saw it in the retail store altogether. So it's super helpful, just like with the countertop. If you can see a larger sample of your tile or your countertop, it's always helpful. It just makes it easier to see what you're actually going to get in your home. We were really fortunate that we were able to build our kitchen from scratch and entirely customize it. And I know that's not the case with a lot of people. A lot of people are dealing with predetermined layouts. Maybe you bought a home and now you're renovating the kitchen and the layout might not be exactly the way you want it to be, or maybe you wish your kitchen was a little bit larger. I guess it could always be larger, but we just have to work with what we have, and no matter what size your kitchen is or what the layout is, you can maximize that space to be really functional and to really appeal to your specific tastes. So you can make an amazing kitchen in the smallest space as long as you try to incorporate some organization and storage hacks that help maximize the space, and then also just really think of what you want to do in your kitchen. For me, I enjoy cooking and baking, and I really love being able to entertain in my home. So that was really important for me, that I had a kitchen layout and organization style that would allow me to easily entertain when people were over. So we have the island that helps with that if we're having a dinner, and then we also have the bar countertop that if we have friends over, we can make drinks and hang out there. So that was very important to me, to be able to entertain. That might not be your goal whatsoever. So you really have to think, what is your purpose in your kitchen? What do you want to be able to do in that space? And then actually envision yourself in the space doing the thing. So if you are thinking that you want to cook in your space, and maybe you like to bake, and you think, okay, well, I need a space that I can bake. How would I easily be able to grab my tools? How would I easily be able to clean up after myself? Where would I store my supplies? And then you can just work in your space to make the best use of it for your particular lifestyle. Okay, well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did find any of the information useful, let me know with a like below. And if you want to see more content like this that's home related, feel free to subscribe. I have another video that you might be interested in seeing. It's a walk-in closet guide. So if you're building a whole house, that one is a really comprehensive guide, just like this video, for walk-in closets. And I'll be posting tons of more home-related content in the future. If you have any questions at all related to my kitchen or things that you're trying to decide between that I didn't discuss in this video, feel free to comment below. You can also send me a DM on Instagram, and I'll be more than happy to answer any of your questions. And thank you so much for watching. Happy kitchen building, and I will see you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.